So talk me through the journey I would go through if I became a customer of Hive Learning, and how would we measure, as the relationship moves on, whether it's been successful or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I think of an example of a client of ours, professional services organisations or global consulting business, the way our partnership has grown, honestly, from quite humble beginnings. So normally the start of these sorts of partnerships is a set of open, honest, workshop-based conversations about. We would always say we try to take the approach of what are your objectives rather than what have we got to sell you. So in this case, it was a conversation about the challenges this company was facing, its priorities for culture and for its business strategy, really a very senior set of stakeholders in the room, including the CEO at the beginning, and then looking to shape up a first piece of work, whether it's a proof of concept or it's a phase one, or depends a little bit how committed you are as the client right from the start. But normally for us, it's something quite defined and specific that we can really work on together to prove the wider opportunity. And so in that scenario, when we think about what evidence are we looking for, what signs of return on investment, for instance, clearly it can vary a little bit customer to customer. So depending on where you are on your journey of a sort of being able to directly quantify the impact of learning and development versus not. This is something that we all struggle with. So examples of a phase one set of deliverables might be things like, do people actually engage in this learning experience or not? So one thing we can be pretty sure of is if no one's spending any time in there, which is sadly the reality of most technology in this market, then we know for sure it's not driving any difference. We can pretend that it might be, we can come up with reasons how it could be, but so step one is just literally, do people use it? If people use it, then we can obviously look a level down and we can look at the nature and the colour of their usage. So something we focus an awful lot on with most of our clients is this notion of contribution. So if I turn up and I engage in content, that's a good sign. If the content was to do with learning things, which all of the content is, but beyond that, do I participate? So do I discuss things? Do I raise things? Do I share things? And obviously we're a social platform, so that those things are easy and not everyone chooses to, but what we learn a lot about who does and who doesn't. And then beyond that, we can measure the follow through of the engagement. So, for instance, we did with one of our clients a fascinating, literally an A/B test, random control blind study, where we put two programs of people through the same learning program. So this was a marketing course about various principles of sort of the cost of sale and marketing channels. And one group went through the same sort of teacher lecturer through a traditional turn up for the class, do the thing. 8 weeks later, we collared them cold and we tested blind their ability to recall and apply the basic concepts. And the other group went through a Hive Learning enabled training program where they got the content in advance, they engaged in discussion before the workshop. The speaker knew what people had consumed because he had the data, so he could tailor the session to something much more practical. And afterwards, there were various follow-ups on the content. And 8 weeks later, we intercepted those people with the same process, and they could instantly recall and apply 50% more of the content of that program. And so that we obviously don't do that every day for every user or on every client, but with many of our clients, we've partnered to do that kind of work. And so that gets us to a pretty good place of being able to measure your form of ROI. And when we've done it all the way down to the numbers and the pound notes, which obviously is important, in the case of this professional services organisation, we estimated together the ROI somewhere around the 10 times range. That's a sort of typical life cycle of a journey for us. And I suppose one thing to make really clear, we absolutely love starting quite small. We're not an organisation that asks you to sign away your life for 3 years up front on a piece of tech you've never touched before. We're quite happy to put our money where our mouth is and back it with a sort of a smaller proof of concept that we hope to scale, and that can take longer to build up the business. It means we're never going to be 100 times bigger overnight, but that helps us grow 100 to 200% every year as we go, and also gives us great client experience. So We got. I discovered last week that our Net Promoter Score, which I assume will people recommend us, for clients of ours is actually higher than Apple, Amazon, Mercedes, and BMW. So it's over 50%, over 50 on Net Promoter Score. Which I was like, that you don't get that if you're not doing something right with the customers that you've got, and so we're really proud of that.
Well, you should be as well. Absolutely.